We appreciate you watching and listening to The Dead Jeff Show. Please like and subscribe and tune in for more videos. Let's shift gears here to a draft, linebackers, and then we'll talk about free agents. Now, last week, we talked about the defensive backs and, who's going to be available, what we might be looking for with Christian Parker here now. Can we get some lift out of some of these corners that have been injured? So right now, we're going to talk about linebackers. Now, for the sake of this, we're not counting David Bailey as a linebacker. We're gonna move forward that he is not a linebacker. And before we get going, I want to kind of readdress the linebackers we've drafted the last 2 years. We got Maris Leofau, who has not produced a whole lot. And then we got the rookie this year, Shamar James, which really struggled this year. And that's really it for the last couple years when it comes to the linebackers in the draft. But you start us off, Nick. We have 24 linebackers rated 80 and above.
Yep.
And really only probably 3 projected to go in the first round. And that's Reese, Styles, and Allen. But let's start with you. Give me your top 5 linebackers in the draft.
Yeah, so the consensus number 1 is definitely my number 1, Arvell Reese from Ohio State. This is I'm not comparing him to Micah, but this is a little bit of a Micah. He can stand up. He can put his foot, his finger in the ground, his hand in the ground. 6 sacks at Ohio State this past season. Good pressure rate. 6'4", ran a 4.5 40. So just a monster athlete. Really, really strong guy. Even with all that said, most places have him fringe first round grade, right? He's right at that 90 kind of spot. And then for the rest of the way through, Sonny Styles, CJ Allen would be my 2 and 3 from Ohio State and Georgia, respectively. And then the one place that I think I differ from most lists that I've looked at is the Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas versus the Deontae Lawson conversation. I think the consensus top 5 there is really unchanged, unless you're a person that throws David Bailey into this conversation. Like you, I agree. Don't have him in the linebacker conversation. So I actually prefer Deontae Lawson from Bama over Anthony Hill Jr. Now, the primary reason for that is Anthony Hill Jr. had a phenomenal 2024. We're in Texas. I watch a lot of Texas football. Dude was a monster in 24. It's not to say that he didn't have a good 25, but it certainly wasn't the same. So that's where my kind of thought process comes from. And then also, as a rule, and I know I can already hear the things coming about, but as a rule, linebackers from Bama, generally speaking, translate consistently better to the NFL than linebackers from Texas do. I'm not crapping on all Texas linebackers. I know there are some good ones. But if you just go and look at the last 25 linebackers to be drafted from Bama and the 25 guys from Texas, you're going to see some patterns start to pop out. So that would be my one kind of concession on the consensus top 5 is give me Lawson in front of Hill at 4 and 5.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think Hill being in 4 would be based on, potential versus production, just based on what's happened. But I can see that. I think I have Arvell Reese 1, Sonny Styles 2, CJ Allen 3. I think I'll stay with Anthony Hill Jr. at 4 and Deontae Lawson at 5. I do understand your point. Now we have Overshown here, and he's gonna have to show me a full season of being healthy and being on the field. If whoever we pair with him on the field, I guess we're going to see, because to me, I don't know if Styles is not there at 12. I don't know that we get any of these top 3 linebackers. They could trade back and get CJ Allen, because most people have him going at the bottom part of the draft, anywhere from 25 down to the end of the first round. And so I just don't see, if we talk about the scenarios where some of these guys, we can get Downs or Styles at 12. Downs probably won't be there. We'll see. Styles may not be there. And we've talked about those doomsday scenarios. But for me, it's, if I don't get Sonny Styles at 12, I probably don't take a linebacker in the first round, and I'm looking to trade out of that pick. But if you're looking for names later, the 6th, 7th, and 8th ranked linebackers. Some people have them just kind of in different orders, but you got Jake Golday from
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati,
Yep.
Josiah Trotter from Missouri, and Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech. Those are kind of the ones that, you know, are next. But for me, I've got a sleeper in Aiden Fisher because I'm a Hoosier. I would love to see Aiden Fisher in a Cowboy uniform, but I don't know how that happens unless they trade back and pick up some more picks.
Yeah, for sure. I think just in that spot, two of the other guys that I kind of graded out actually higher than Jacob Rodriguez. And I say graded out, but like as I compiled again, just for everyone that hasn't been following along, really what we're doing is we're taking a look at all the scouting reports that we can. I may read 15 to 20 scouting reports from different sites, and I'm compiling all of that into what kind of looks like it. And then on these guys that are really close, I'll go watch YouTube videos. I'll go watch the highlight package and just kind of what do I see. Now, obviously, those are only the best plays. I'm not doing the coach's screen and looking through every single play. But Torrin York from A&M is someone that also kind of popped up. Now, the problem with York is he's a little undersized. You know, he's listed at 5'10", 5'11", something like that. Um, you know, it's a little Dexter Coakley for you throwback guys. Like, I don't know if you want to go Coakley that win, but, you know, when they're all over the field, it doesn't really matter. And then you know, Gabe Jacobs is another one from Illinois. So I mean, I think, and he's one of those David Bailey kind of linebacker edgy guys. So it depends on where you put him. But here's what I'll say: if you talk about doomsday, if you don't have any of the, if you don't have certainly not Arvell Reese, but if you don't have Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles at 12, you can't even think about trading back 12 for Allen. You've got to trade back 20 because even 20 is probably too high for CJ.
Right.
So, well, you're really hoping. And again, I keep talking about my doomsday being Francis Maui Noah, being the guy at 12, because if everybody else kind of gets taken away from you, now you're running into a situation where Francis might be there. And look, the dude's an absolute freak. Or Fano from Stanford. Like those two linemen, I can see the Cowboys just being like, look, this is old school. We're gonna build. This is, you know, Travis Frederick. This is Zach. Help me out here at
Martin.
the guard. That was Martin. Zach Martin. Um, we're just gonna do that. We're just gonna build up the line. And to me, I don't. I think the defense needs too much help. But that's kind of the doomsday for me is that we don't get Styles, we don't get Downs, we don't get Reese, and then even one of the two of Delane and uh, Mansour are gone. So
Wait,
I
Mansour
just,
is
you know,
Delane.
oh, so who's the other? McCoy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, McCoy. Sorry. A lot of names, man. Draft time, baby. It gets a little heavy. But yeah, so I agree with you. I just think that there's a path forward here where we don't improve the defense and we get stuck in a situation where we're offensive linemen again.
Yeah, and it's with Guyton, some say it's hit or miss with him. They took him in the first round 2 years ago, and then last year, Booker, who has done well, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're asking me, in that scenario, I think I take the lineman or trade back. I probably would trade back and still look at helping the defense. Although
Yep.
we are going to need some depth on the offensive line, so I wouldn't be mad
Mm-hmm.
at that. But it's kind of like, oh, here we go again, third year in a row we get an offensive lineman at 12, right, or
Yep.
around 12. So I would be worried
Yeah.
about that. And here's the thing too, they just waived Logan Wilson at linebacker, and so they freed up a lot of money that helped them get Javante, so that's great, right? It's almost like we swapped them out. Not in full, but it was a big chunk of what they paid Javante came from this money they're going to save by waiving Logan Wilson. So if that's the case, you're one less linebacker on this team, and I really feel like
Mm.
you're gonna have to get one. You're gonna have to get one of these top four. Whether you trade back and do it, I'm fine, and pick up a third round pick or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
Really feel like they got to stay focused on the defense, and signing Javante the way they did helps them kind of free up. Hey, we got our offense pretty much set except for offensive line, like you said. So let's just focus on the defense. And I'd be scared if they don't if they're not able to do that.
Yeah, 100%. And you're right. Just for the Logan Wilson thing, for just to recap, they traded at the trade deadline. They gave up a seventh rounder for Logan Wilson. So it's not like not a lot of seventh rounders turn into big impact players. Not saying it doesn't happen. Obviously it does. But ultimately, like for anyone, we said earlier, they've not given me a lot of reasons to be upset. I've read people like, well, they just traded him and now they cut him, so they traded away a seventh round pick for nothing. That was so low risk because of the seventh rounder versus Logan Wilson could have panned out. It could have been a different scenario, could have been the change of scenery thing that we've seen happen a million times. I don't look at that as like, oh, I'm upset about this. I would have been more upset if they tried to prove a point by like, oh, we made a good trade and held on to him just to not admit defeat. Like so many teams, like that to me is way worse. So I'm totally okay with this. I agree with you completely. The money savings there will come in handy, coupled with the Javante deal. Like this is totally fine, no issue whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're talking about you could reference Jonathan Mingo. What a terrible trade that was, and they're
Hmm.
holding on to him, or they have been hoping he's
Right.
something, but he hasn't
Yeah.
been much of anything. And it's hard to believe you gave up a fourth round for Mingo and a third round for Pickens. And
Third
it,
rounder.
I
Yeah.
guess you can't win them all, I guess. But the good
Yeah.
news for Dallas, not just about the draft, but linebackers. There are a lot of free agents that are
Oh yeah.
available in the draft at linebacker, and a few have ties to Christian Parker. Well, one, Nakobe Dean.
Hmm.
But
Yep.
when you look at the free agent list that's available, who stands out to you that you would love to see the Cowboys bust the budget and go get?
Yeah. So the number one guy, and I think this is not breaking news for it by any stretch, is Devin Lloyd, right? You talk about Pro Football Focus had him rated as the third highest linebacker out of 88 graded. This is a guy that's 27 years old. You can probably get him for around 15 to 18 million a year, which happy to do that for that at that age. He's entering now his prime as a linebacker. He's probably got three, call it four, or four, call it 3 years of high level of production, especially in a Christian Parker scheme. Like if you watch Devin Lloyd, and I'm kind of a Trevor Lawrence fan, so I watch a lot of Jacksonville Jaguar football. Um, Devin Lloyd's a monster. Like that dude, if Overshown can stay healthy, and if Parker is going to the 3-4, like we kind of think he will, wow, now talk about breaking the bank. You're probably looking at 3 year, 25 to 30 million guaranteed and somewhere between 45 and 50 million in total money. It's a pretty healthy deal, right? But when you're getting a 27-year-old linebacker entering his prime, you're going to have to pony up. So for me, I would look at Devin Lloyd as the absolute kind of name a fantasy pick right now. That would be it for me.
Yeah, that would be huge, right? I think that would be breaking the bank or busting the budget, however you want to say it. I
Yep.
think there are other options out there. You have Caden Ellis from Atlanta. You got Quay
Hmm.
Walker from Green Bay. Devin Bush, I believe, was that Cleveland he was in? Or
That's Cleveland. Yep, that's right.
yeah,
Hmm.
Nakobe
Cleveland.
Dean we talked about, which would be a welcome addition. And then a name that I threw out, which is a more second tier type free agent, would be Quincy Williams, who's Quinnen's brother. Then you got
Yep.
some veterans out there. You got veterans Demario Davis, Bobby Wagner, Levante David, Alex Anzalone,
Yep.
Jermaine Pratt, those kinds of guys. Matt Milano. But to me, I think you can get one of these top 5 or 6 free agents,
100%.
and maybe get lucky and get Sonny Styles and one of these top 5 free agents. That would be incredible. But if you lock up one of these free agents in before the draft, it makes that flexibility better for those draft picks, right? So that's why we talked about having free agency ahead of the draft. This is what that allows
Hmm.
you to do. It says, okay, if we can get one of these linebackers, knowing we probably need two, because we're not sure Overshown's going to make it through a season. So I think it just would be
Right.
wise to spend money there and then maybe double up and get one in the draft as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think to your point, if you look at some of these guys like a Matt Milano, Quay Walker, I like Jermaine Pratt a lot. I actually am a huge Jermaine Pratt fan. And if you look at it, ranked 41st out of 88 linebackers for Pro Football Focus, this is a guy you can get on a 1 or 2 year deal for probably $2 to $3 million a year. Like if you take one of these kind of 28 to 30-year-old guys that may be 2 to 5 million a year, somewhere in that range, as a just in case, as a kind of veteran presence in the locker room. Whether you swing and miss for Bush or Lloyd or one of the kind of the consensus top guys, Nakobe Dean even, then it 100% frees you up in the draft to be way more aggressive with what you're doing. Um, Maybe you can start to explore trading up because I don't need a backer. Maybe I can trade up and go for downs. I know your feeling on it is maybe not always the best idea to trade up for a DB, but in any event, if you have one in the bank, you're 100% right. It's got to give you a little bit of freedom to feel like you can be a little bit more aggressive, whether through trading up or trading back.
Yeah, I would definitely not trade up in this draft for a DB. If you want to trade up, to get the linebacker, okay, I could understand that because the grades at the top are not there's not a lot of them that are first round graded.
Yeah.
So I could understand that, but we don't have the draft capital for this year to trade up. So we'd have to be mortgaging some
No.
of next year's draft to go and trade up, which, some people are risk adverse and don't want to do that. I think I hope we can sign a linebacker in free agency. That would make me feel better if it's one of these top 6, 7, 8 that are available. But to me, I'm
Mm-hmm.
really, really nervous that all these defensive players are going to go at the top of the draft, and it'll push the offensive players down to us, and then we'll have a decision to make. Do we take the lineman? Do we trade back? Maybe somebody's going to come up and get a receiver that really needs a receiver.
Yep.
Maybe somebody will come up to get the second quarterback. I don't think so. I don't think
Right.
I don't think Simpson will be ranked that high. But to me,
Right.
it gives you flexibility, though, if you go in the free agency, like we said. But I'm really fearing that, we're not going to have the safety we want, the linebacker we want, the corner we want is going to be gone. And if I don't have Delane, Styles, or who am I missing? Downs. If they're
Reese.
all
Oh,
gone,
oh,
yeah. If they're all gone, then I'm entertaining trades down for
yeah,
12 and 20. And let's see what I can stock up. If
for
I can
sure.
go 12 to 16 or 20 to 25, pick up 2 third rounders, bro, that's genius right there. And we still get defensive help, just not highly rated because we've talked a lot about being 13 to 15 first round grades in this entire draft. So it's not top heavy
Mm-hmm.
for sure, but that would be something I'd entertain.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And if you're someone and I look at this and I'm a huge, I love the draft. There's a trade value chart where it'll tell you what a pick is worth. So for example, the Cowboys 12th pick is worth 1,200 points. If you look at Detroit, who's at 17, their pick is worth 950. So can I go from 12 to 17? I'm dropping 5 spots, but in doing so, I pick up a third and a fourth rounder, right? And so I think those are the kind of things that you're talking about. I'm dropping 5 spots. The guy that I really want is still going to be there at 17. I'm not really giving anything up because I know I can't take this guy for 12. I'm going to save some money on the rookie pay scale to take him at 17 instead of 12. And oh, by the way, I'm going to get 2 more players. You hope at least a third rounder, someone that can come in and start right away, and then kind of that fringe fourth rounder where they've had some success with fourth rounders as you've kind of documented in the past. So I love that. I'm always a big proponent of trading back in the event that Downs, Styles, or whether it's Reese or whoever, whichever other guy you really are high on.
Now
Um,
Reese won't
I
be
will
there.
also say historically, no,
Reese
Reese
won't
won't
be
be.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I could see maybe David Bailey though. He could potentially, fall just depending on the way the board breaks down. I will say historically, and Jerry Jones has not done a great job of hiding his draft boards in the past. If there's 12 to 15 first round grades, usually the Cowboys may have 17 to 19 first round grades. So you never really know how that shakes out. But yeah, just in general, always a huge proponent of trading back, especially at a time when you're really at a talent deficit on the defensive side of the ball. It's a volume play, man. Just go get as many picks as you
Yeah.
can. Try to strike gold wherever you can.
And that's not sexy. That's not what people want to hear on draft day. Oh, we traded back.
Right.
I think this year it would be acceptable if those players are not on the board. And
Mm-hmm.
and we our board may look different than the Cowboys board in the past. It kind of always has. But listen, I'm
Yep.
buying in to the optimism that things will be done differently. I don't know how much influence Christian Parker is going to have on the draft. Obviously, he's talked about a 3-4 scheme, and that means maybe some players we thought were going to be out at Dallas will be back in as far as free agents, our own free agents, and maybe that means
Hmm.
they're not going to keep all three DTs, defensive tackles, and maybe there's a move to be made there. But here's what I know: the draft is a fun time. We got the combine this weekend, and we get to start seeing some of these things sort of shake out a little bit. If anybody's still competing at the
Yeah.
combine, I know there's a lot of people that don't run, but they do some of the drills. But I'm excited about the combine. I'm excited about this because it can go many different directions, and maybe there's a trade that gets made even before free agency or in free agency period that opens and before the draft that totally changes what we do.
Yeah, 100%. I think the other thing is, and you don't know what Dallas is thinking the way they have the board lined out. If they love Jordan Tyson and they know they can get Jordan Tyson at 20, which you may or may not be able to, he's a receiver from Arizona State. Um, and they trade George Pickens for a second, a second and a third or 2 seconds, whatever. Like to your
Or an
point, you
edge
never
rusher.
know, right? Like this thing could change, or if you go Max Crosby, or if you have an idea that maybe Cincinnati's willing to list on Hendricks, sure. Like, I mean, you just don't know. There's so many different ways this thing could play out. Um, I will say, although not sexy, I agree with you. I'm always for whatever helps boost the thing in need, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, very clearly, it's the defense.
Yeah, and there's a lot of needs on that defense. And so if you draft DB, if you draft safety, even if you draft edge, or I don't think they're going to do a defensive tackle. That would be just too much. You're gonna get help there.
Yeah.
And so okay, that wraps it up on linebackers for this year's draft. Next week we're going to do defensive line, which is edge and tackles. Um, I think one other draft note, I think they'll probably, on Brandon Aubrey, who is a restricted free agent, they'll probably do a first or second round tender on him so they have the right to match any
Yeah.
offer if they can't get a deal done. But listen, this is exciting time. This is why football season's never over. And so they keep you into it. It's oh, we got the combine. Oh, we got free agency. Oh, we got the draft. And then we're into, summer workouts, off-season programs. So anyway, anything else to say about the linebackers before we wrap it up?
No, I think well documented here. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think the next big thing that I'm waiting to see is kind of how free agency shakes out, because who knows, maybe they hit jackpot and they say, hey, we're not even worrying about linebackers in the draft. We're going to sign Devin Lloyd, Nakobe Dean, and we're not even thinking about linebackers when it comes to the draft. And you've Godspeed. I hope.
Yeah, from your lips to God's ears, right? All right, cool. Thank you. That's the draft talk for linebackers. Again, defensive line next week.